On his way home from work in the middle of a blizzard, a black mechanic came across a woman unconscious inside a car teetering on the edge of a cliff. Without hesitation, he broke the door open and rushed her to the nearest hospital. There, he even tore apart his own truck, the only valuable thing he owned, to restore the hospital's power so the doctors could save her life in time. What he didn't know was that the woman he just rescued would soon hand him a key that could change everything, and that every choice he made from that moment on would alter not only his own fate, but the lives of thousands forever. Before we dive deeper into this story, let us know where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe for more heartwarming stories every day. The fluorescent lights in the garage flickered one last time before Darius Washington killed the switch. Another 14-hour shift done. The garage was empty except for him. His boss had left at 6, mumbling something about dinner with his wife. Darius didn't have a wife. Didn't have time for one. Hell, he barely had time to eat. He glanced at the clock on the wall. 11:47 p.m. Shit. His mother would be waiting. She always waited, no matter how late he came home. His hands ached. The kind of deep, bone-tired ache that came from wrestling with rusted bolts and frozen engine parts all day. He wiped the grease on his jeans, already so stained it didn't matter anymore, and flexed his fingers. The calluses were thick now, built up over 16 years of turning wrenches and fixing what other people broke. Outside, the wind howled. Snow hammered against the metal walls of Reed's Auto Repair like it was trying to punch through. Pinewood, Colorado didn't mess around when winter came calling. Tonight's storm was supposed to be the worst one in 20 years. Darius grabbed his thermos and took a long drink of cold coffee. Bitter, empty. Just like the feeling in his gut when he looked at the stack of bills on the workbench. Electric bill, 3 months overdue. Rent notice, final warning. His mother's prescription receipts. The numbers made his head hurt. Damn it, he muttered, shoving them into his coat pocket. His phone buzzed. A text from his sister Keisha. You coming home soon? Mom's asking about you. He typed back, 20 minutes. Tell her I'm fine. Fine. What a joke. He wasn't fine. None of them were. But what else could he say? Darius pulled on his jacket, patched at the elbows, zipper broken but it was warm, and grabbed his toolbox. The red metal was dented, scratched, covered in stickers his dad had put there years ago. Washington and Son Mechanics. That dream died the day his father did. Crushed under a hydraulic lift when Darius was 15. No insurance. No lawsuit. Just a funeral they couldn't afford, and a future that disappeared overnight. He locked the garage door and trudged through the snow to his truck, a 1998 Ford F-150, baby blue paint flaking off like dead skin. The passenger door didn't open anymore. The heat only worked on one setting. But the engine, perfect, because Darius knew every inch of that machine. He'd rebuilt the transmission twice, replaced the alternator 4 times, and kept it alive through sheer stubbornness, just like everything else in his life. He turned the key. The engine coughed, sputtered, then roared to life. Small victories. Darius sat there for a moment, hands on the wheel, staring at nothing. The snow was coming down so thick he could barely see the road. Smart people stayed home in weather like this. But smart people didn't have a mother with diabetes who needed her insulin, or a 16-year-old sister who still believed college was possible. His eyes drifted to the photo taped to the dashboard. Him, Keisha, and their mom at his high school graduation. 7 years ago. His mom was smiling, healthy, full of life. Keisha was just a kid, missing her front teeth. And Darius, he was wearing his dad's old tie, grinning like the world was full of possibilities. Stupid kid. He reached up and touched the photo, his thumb smudging the corner. I'm trying, Ma, he whispered. I'm trying. The wind shook the truck, reality snapping back. Darius shifted into drive and pulled out onto the empty road. The snow swallowed his headlights. Visibility, maybe 10 feet. The road was ice underneath powder, slick and deadly. He knew every curve of this mountain pass, every spot where cars had slid off in winters past. Knowing didn't make it less dangerous. His phone sat in the cup holder, battery at 12%. No signal out here anyway. He thought about his mom, probably sitting by the window waiting. She always waited, even when he told her not to. Even when the doctors said the stress was bad for her heart. Just get home, he told himself. One more day, then one more after that. That's how you survived. You didn't think about the mountain of debt. You didn't think about the job that barely paid enough. You didn't think about the dreams you buried with your father. You just focused on the next thing. Get home, make sure mom took her pills, help Keisha with her homework. Wake up, do it again. The truck hit a patch of ice and fish-tailed. Darius's hands moved on instinct, steering into the skid, easing off the gas. The tires found traction. His heart hammered against his ribs. Come on, baby, he murmured to the truck. Stay with me. The wind screamed louder now, battering the driver's side like it wanted in. Snow piled up on the windshield, faster than the wipers could clear it. Darius leaned forward, squinting through the white chaos, trying to find the road. That's when he saw it. A flicker of light. Faint, blinking. Hazard lights. His chest tightened. Someone was out here. Someone was in trouble. Darius's foot hovered over the gas pedal. Every instinct screamed at him to keep driving. Mom was waiting. The storm was getting worse. He had nothing left to give. But he slowed down anyway, because that's what his dad would have done. The lights grew clearer as he inched forward. A vehicle, expensive looking. A silver Mercedes SUV, half buried in a snowdrift, front end wrapped around a tree. The driver's side was facing him, the window completely frosted over. Darius pulled over, his tires crunching against the frozen ground. He killed the engine but left the headlights on, illuminating the wreck. Shit, he breathed. The Mercedes was tilted at a bad angle, rear wheels dangerously close to the edge of the road. Below, a drop-off into the canyon, probably 100-foot fall, maybe more. He grabbed his flashlight and got out. The cold hit him like a fist, wind ripped at his jacket, snow stinging his face. He could barely keep his eyes open. Hey, he shouted, stumbling toward the SUV. Anybody in there? No answer, just the wind. He reached the driver's side and wiped the frost off the window. His flashlight beam cut through the darkness. A woman, young, maybe 30, blonde hair matted against her face, slumped over the steering wheel, not moving. Darius's heart dropped into his stomach. He pounded on the glass. Hey, can you hear me? Nothing, but he could see her breath fogging the inside of the windshield. Faint, barely there. She was alive. For now. He tried the door. Frozen shut. Ice had sealed it completely. God damn it, Darius snarled. He ran back to his truck, grabbed a tire iron from the toolbox and rushed back. Sorry about this, he muttered, and swung. The window shattered, glass exploded inward. Freezing air rushed into the car. Darius reached through, unlocked the door, and yanked it open. The woman was ice cold. Her lips had a bluish tint. Her skin was pale as snow. Hypothermia. Advanced. Okay, Darius whispered, his mind racing. Come on, let's get you out. He unbuckled her seatbelt, careful not to move her too fast. Spinal injury, maybe, but if he left her here, she'd be dead in 20 minutes. The second he pulled her weight out of the seat, the Mercedes groaned. Darius froze. The SUV shifted, metal scraping against ice. The rear end started sliding toward the edge. Oh no, no. He grabbed the woman and threw himself backward into the snow. His back slammed against the frozen ground, knocking the air out of his lungs. He clutched her against his chest, rolling away from the vehicle. The Mercedes tipped, slowly at first. Then all at once, it slid over the edge and disappeared into the darkness. The sound of metal twisting, scraping, crashing echoed through the canyon, for what felt like forever. Then silence, just the wind, and his heartbeat pounding in his ears. Darius lay there in the snow, gasping for breath, the woman limp in his arms. He could feel her chest rising and falling. Barely, but she was breathing. You're okay, he said, his voice shaking. You're okay, I got you. He didn't know if he was talking to her or himself. He forced himself to stand, his legs trembling, carried her to his truck, laid her across the passenger seat, wrapped his jacket around her body, cranked the heat as high as it would go. His hands were shaking, blood dripped from where the glass had cut his palm. He looked at the woman. Who was she? What the hell was she doing out here alone in a storm like this? Didn't matter. Not yet. Darius threw the truck into gear and hit the gas. The tires spun, then caught. He turned back toward the road and drove 28 miles to St. Catherine's Hospital, through the worst storm in 20 years, with a dying woman and a truck held together by hope and duct tape. Just stay alive, Darius muttered, glancing at her pale face. Please, just stay alive. The snow swallowed them whole, and somewhere behind them, his mother was still waiting by the window. The truck tore through the storm like it was trying to outrun death itself. Darius's knuckles were white against the steering wheel. His breath came in short bursts. The wipers fought a losing battle against the snow piling up on the windshield. He had to lean forward, squinting through the white chaos, searching for any sign of the road. The woman beside him was motionless, her head rolled against the seat, lips turning blue despite the heat blasting from the vents. Darius kept glancing over, watching for the faint rise and fall of her chest, still breathing. Barely. Come on, he muttered under his breath. Just hold on. His phone buzzed in the cup holder. Keisha. Again. He couldn't answer. Not now, not with both hands fighting to keep the truck from sliding off the road. I'm sorry, kid. Just a little longer. The road twisted ahead. Darius knew this stretch. Dead Man's Curve. 5 people died there last winter when their car went over the edge. The county never fixed the guardrails. He slowed down, muscles tensing. The curve appeared through the snow, a dark mouth waiting to swallow him whole. The truck skidded. Darius's heart jumped into his throat. He turned into the skid, felt the rear end swing out toward the drop-off. For one horrible second, the back wheels lost contact with the ground. His father's voice echoed in his head. Stay calm, son. Fear makes you stupid. Darius lifted his foot off the gas. Didn't brake, just let the physics work. The truck's weight shifted forward. The tires bit into the road again. He made it through. Jesus Christ, he breathed. The woman stirred. A small sound escaped her lips, barely more than a whisper. Darius's pulse spiked. Can you hear me? Her eyelids fluttered, opened halfway, unfocused, confused. Where? Her voice was so weak he almost didn't hear it. You were in an accident, Darius said quickly. I'm taking you to the hospital. St. Catherine's, just hang on. Just hang on. Her eyes tried to focus on his face, but they kept drifting. She was fading again. Stay with me, Darius urged. Come on. Stay awake. Her mouth moved, forming words he couldn't make out. Something about a case, documents. Mitchell, she mumbled. Then her eyes rolled back. Darius reached over, shook her shoulder gently. Don't do that. Stay awake. Nothing. She was out again. Darius cursed under his breath, and pressed the gas harder. The engine whined in protest but obeyed. 20 miles to the hospital. Maybe less. He could make it. He had to make it. The storm seemed to get worse with every mile. Wind battered the truck from all sides. Snow came down so thick it felt like driving through a wall. Darius's hands ached from gripping the wheel. His eyes burned from staring into the white void. But he didn't slow down. Minutes crawled by. Each one felt like an hour. The woman beside him didn't move again. Darius kept checking, one hand on the wheel, the other reaching over to feel for her pulse at her neck. Still there, weak but there. You're not dying in my truck, he said out loud. You hear me? Not tonight. His phone buzzed again. This time it was a call, Mom's number. His chest tightened. She never called this late, unless something was wrong. But he couldn't answer, not with one hand, not in this storm. I'm coming, Ma, I promise. The road ahead dipped suddenly. Darius felt it before he saw it. The truck tilting forward, gaining speed. He tapped the brakes. Too much ice. The truck started to slide. Shit. He pumped the brakes gently. Once, twice. The truck slowed but kept sliding. A wall of snow loomed on the right. The edge of a drop-off yawned on the left. Darius yanked the wheel right. The truck fishtailed, rear end swinging wide. For a split second, he felt the passenger side tires leave the ground. The woman's body shifted, rolling toward him. No, Darius shoved her back against the seat with one hand while fighting the wheel with the other. The truck slammed back down. All 4 tires found the road. Darius's head cracked against the doorframe. Stars exploded across his vision. But they were still moving, still alive. He blinked hard, trying to clear his head. Blood trickled down from his temple where he'd hit the frame. He wiped it away with his sleeve. "Not today," he growled. "Not fucking today." Ahead through the snow, he saw something. Lights. Faint. Flickering. His heart leaped. The hospital. But between him and those lights was one more obstacle. Ironwood Bridge. Darius's stomach dropped. The bridge was old. Ancient. The town had been talking about replacing it for years, but the money never came. In good weather it was sketchy. In a storm like this, he could already see it sagging under the weight of snow and ice. "Damn it," he whispered. He could turn around, find another route, but that would add at least an hour, and this woman didn't have an hour. Darius looked at her pale face, her blue lips, the way her chest barely moved. He looked at the bridge, then he made his choice. He pressed the gas pedal down, all the way to the floor. The truck surged forward. The engine roared. The bridge rushed up to meet them, a dark skeleton of wood and metal groaning under the storm's assault. Darius hit it at 50 miles per hour. The world exploded into chaos. Wood cracked like gunshots. Metal shrieked. The entire bridge shuddered and swayed. Darius felt the planks buckling beneath the tires. He didn't slow down, didn't breathe, just kept his foot down and his eyes locked on the far side. Behind him he heard it, the sound of support beams snapping. 20 feet left. 15. The bridge lurched sideways. The passenger side dipped. The woman's body rolled against the door. 10 feet. 5. A massive crack echoed through the night. The rear wheels dropped into empty space. Darius felt the truck falling. Then the front tires hit solid ground. The truck's momentum carried them forward. The rear end scraped against the edge of the bridge, metal screaming against wood, and then they were across. Darius slammed on the brakes. They skidded to a stop on the other side. He sat there, gasping, his heart trying to punch through his ribcage. His hands were locked on the wheel so tight he couldn't let go. In the rear-view mirror he watched the center of Ironwood Bridge collapse into the frozen river below. The sound of it, timber splitting, metal groaning, everything crashing down, echoed across the canyon. Then silence, just the wind, and his ragged breathing. "Holy shit," Darius whispered. "Holy shit." He looked at the woman, still unconscious, still breathing. They'd made it. Ahead, the lights of St. Catherine's Hospital burned through the storm like a beacon. Darius forced his fingers to unclench from the wheel, put the truck back in gear, and drove. 5 minutes later, he pulled into the emergency bay. The tires let out a final exhausted screech against the pavement. Darius threw the door open and stumbled out into the cold. "Help." His voice was raw. "I need help. She's dying." The emergency doors burst open. Nurses and paramedics rushed out with a gurney. Darius pulled the woman from the truck, his arms shaking from exhaustion and adrenaline. He laid her carefully on the gurney. "Found her in a car wreck," he said quickly. "She was unconscious. Hypothermia. I don't know how long she was out there." The lead nurse, a middle-aged woman with sharp eyes, nodded. "We've got her. Good work." They wheeled her inside. The doors swung shut behind them. Darius stood there in the falling snow, his legs suddenly weak. His whole body was shaking. From cold, from fear, from the fact that he just cheated death twice in one night. He leaned against the truck, closed his eyes, and took a breath. Then the hospital lights flickered. Once, twice, and then everything went dark. The darkness swallowed everything. For 3 seconds there was nothing but silence and the howling wind outside. Then the emergency lights kicked in, dim, flickering, casting long shadows across the hospital corridor. But it wasn't enough. Somewhere down the hall, a ventilator alarm started screaming. "Backup generator," someone shouted. A doctor's voice, sharp with panic. "Why isn't the backup generator running?" Darius stood frozen in the emergency bay, snow melting off his jacket, forming a puddle at his feet. Through the glass doors he could see nurses running, flashlights cutting through the darkness, people shouting over each other. The woman Olivia had just been wheeled into the and now the power was gone. Shit. Darius pushed through the doors. Inside was chaos. Patients in the waiting area were standing up, confused and frightened. A child was crying. An old man clutched his chest, gasping for air. Nurses tried to maintain order, but their voices were drowned out by the rising panic. "Everyone stay calm," a nurse called out. "The emergency lights are on. We're working on." Another alarm joined the first, then another. The sound of machines dying filled the air. Darius's heart pounded. He knew that sound. He'd heard it before, years ago, when his father's shop lost power during a winter storm. Equipment shutting down, systems failing, people dying. A security guard rushed past him, a white guy in his 40s, radio crackling at his hip. "Hey." Darius grabbed his arm. "What happened? Why isn't the generator working?" The guard barely glanced at him. "Storm knocked out the main power. Generator should have kicked in automatically, but it's not responding." "Where is it?" "Basement. But it's been acting up for weeks. Administration kept saying they'd fix it." The guard's radio squawked. He pulled away from Darius. "I gotta go." Darius stood there for a second, his mind racing. A hospital without power, in the middle of a blizzard, with no way to get help from outside. The woman he just saved could die, along with God knows how many others. He looked down at his hands, still covered in grease and cuts from breaking the car window. His father's voice echoed in his head again. "Son, if you can fix it, you fix it. Don't matter who asks, don't matter who needs it, you just do it." "Damn it," Darius muttered. He turned and ran after the guard. "Hey, wait." The guard stopped, spinning around with an annoyed expression. "What?" "The generator. I can fix it." The guard's eyes swept over Darius, from his worn-out work boots to his grease-stained jacket to his face. The look lasted maybe 2 seconds, but Darius saw it all. The doubt, the suspicion. "You?" The guard's tone was flat, dismissive. "Yeah, me. I'm a mechanic. Been working on engines for 16 years. This isn't a car engine, buddy. I know what a generator is." Darius fought to keep his voice level. "And right now you don't have a lot of options, so either take me to it or stand here wasting time while people die." The guard hesitated. His hand moved to his radio like he was going to call someone, ask for permission, get approval from someone more important. "Now," Darius said. His voice dropped low, hard. "We go now." Maybe it was the tone, maybe it was the desperation in Darius's eyes, or maybe the guard just ran out of better ideas. "Fine. Follow me." They moved fast through the corridors. The emergency lights flickered overhead, casting everything in a sickly yellow glow. More alarms were going off now. Darius passed a room where nurses were manually pumping air into a patient's lungs. Another room where a doctor was barking orders by flashlight. Every second counted. They reached a stairwell. The guard pulled open the door and started down. Darius followed, taking the steps 2 at a time. "What's your name?" Darius asked. "Thompson. David Thompson." "Darius Washington." Thompson didn't respond, just kept moving. The basement was darker than upstairs, colder too. Their footsteps echoed off concrete walls. Thompson's flashlight beam swept back and forth, searching for the generator room. "Here." Thompson stopped at a heavy metal door, pulled it open. The smell hit Darius first. Burnt oil, overheated metal, something electrical that had fried. He stepped inside. The generator sat in the middle of the room like a dying beast, old, massive, covered in rust and grime. Wires snaked out from it in every direction. Half the casing was scorched black. Darius's stomach sank. "Jesus," he breathed. "How long has it been like this?" "I don't know. Couple years. They kept saying they'd replace it. They should have replaced it 5 years ago." Darius moved closer, his trained eyes scanning the damage. "This thing's been running on borrowed time." He knelt down, opened his toolbox, the one he'd grabbed from his truck before coming inside, started pulling out wrenches, screwdrivers, wire cutters. Thompson stood behind him, watching. "Can you fix it?" "I don't know yet." "Shine that light over here." The beam moved to where Darius was working. He opened a panel on the side of the generator, revealing a mess of wiring. Half of it was melted together. The circuit board was fried. "Shit," Darius muttered. "The main relay's blown, probably took out half the secondary circuits when it went." "Can you fix it or not?" Darius looked up. Thompson's face was tight with stress. Behind them they could hear the muffled sounds of the hospital above. Alarms, voices, chaos. "I need parts," Darius said. "A new relay, capacitor, some fresh wiring." "We don't have any of that." "I know." Darius stood up, his mind working through the problem. He'd rebuilt engines with less, kept machines running with duct tape and prayer. But this was different. This was life and death. Then it hit him. His truck. "I'll be right back," Darius said. "What? Where are you going?" But Darius was already moving. He ran back through the basement, up the stairs, through the corridors. People called out to him but he didn't stop, couldn't stop. He burst out into the emergency bay. The storm slammed into him like a wall, snow and wind and cold that cut right through his jacket. His truck sat where he'd left it, covered in snow. Darius yanked open the hood. The engine underneath was his life's work, every part carefully chosen, every modification done by his own hands. He'd rebuilt this truck 3 times, kept it alive when any sane person would have junked it. And now he was about to rip its heart out. "I'm sorry, baby," he whispered. He went to work. The relay that controlled the truck's electrical system salvaged from a junkyard 2 years ago. The capacitor that smoothed out the voltage. The voltage regulator he'd installed last winter when the alternator started acting up. One by one he pulled them free. His fingers were numb from the cold. Blood from the cuts on his hands mixed with grease and melted snow, but he didn't slow down. 5 minutes. That's all it took. 5 minutes to gut the truck that had saved his life 100 times over. He gathered the parts in his arms and ran back inside. Thompson was waiting at the generator room door, pacing. "You're insane," Thompson said when he saw what Darius was carrying. "Yeah," Darius pushed past him. "I've been told." He knelt back down at the generator, laid out the parts. His hands moved fast now, working on instinct and 15 years of experience. He bypassed the blown relay, rerouted the power through the salvaged one, spliced in new wiring, connected the capacitor to smooth out the current. The whole time he was aware of Thompson standing behind him, watching, doubting. Darius had felt that doubt his whole life. Every time someone looked at his skin before they looked at his skills. Every time someone assumed he didn't belong, didn't know what he was doing, couldn't possibly be good enough. He'd learned to ignore it, to let his work speak for itself. "One more connection," Darius muttered. His hands were shaking now from cold, from exhaustion, from the weight of what would happen if this didn't work. He touched the final wire to the terminal. A spark jumped, blue and bright in the darkness. "Okay." Darius stood up, wiping his hands on his jeans. "Try it now." Thompson moved to the control panel. His hand hovered over the start switch. "If this doesn't work, it'll work," Darius said. He didn't sound confident. He sounded terrified. "Just do it." Thompson pressed the button. For a long, horrible second, nothing happened. Then the generator coughed, sputtered. The sound of an engine trying to remember how to run. "Come on," Darius whispered. "Come on, baby. Come on." The generator shuddered, groaned, like something waking up from a deep sleep, and then with a roar that echoed through the basement, it caught. The lights in the generator room blazed to life. Overhead they could hear it spreading through the hospital. Power surging back through the lines. Machines coming back online. The alarms stopped. For a moment neither of them moved. Just stood there listening to the beautiful sound of the generator running steady and strong. Thompson let out a breath he'd been holding. "Holy shit, yeah." Darius's legs felt weak. He leaned against the wall. "Holy shit." Thompson turned to look at him. Really look at him. The doubt was gone from his eyes, replaced by something else. Respect maybe, or just shock. "You just saved this entire hospital," Thompson said quietly. Darius shook his head. "I just fixed a generator." "No, you." Thompson stopped. "Start it again. I shouldn't have doubted you. When you said you could fix it, I didn't think." "I know what you thought." Darius's voice was tired. Not angry, just tired. "It's fine." "It's not fine." "Yeah, but it's done." Darius pushed off the wall, picked up his toolbox. "I need to check on the woman I brought in." He walked toward the door. Thompson followed. "Washington," Thompson called out. "Darius." Darius stopped, turned. Thompson extended his hand. Thank you. Darius looked at the hand for a second. Then he took it. They shook once. Firm. You're welcome. They walked back upstairs together. The hospital was coming back to life around them. Nurses were moving between rooms, checking on patients. Doctors were calling out orders. The ventilators were humming. The monitors were beeping. Everyone was going to be okay. Darius found a nurse in the hallway. The woman I brought in, blonde. About 30. Where is she? The nurse checked a clipboard. ICU, room 304. She's stable now. Dr. Hayes is with her. Can I see her? Are you family? No. I'm the one who found her. The nurse hesitated, then nodded. 3rd floor. Elevator's working now. Thanks to, she paused. Thanks to whoever fixed the power. Right. Darius managed a small smile. Thanks. He took the elevator up. His reflection stared back at him in the metal doors. He looked like hell, covered in grease and blood and melted snow. His eyes were red from exhaustion. But he was alive. They were all alive. The elevator dinged. 3rd floor. Darius stepped out and walked down the hall following the signs to the ICU. His boots squeaked on the clean tile. He felt out of place here, like he was tracking dirt into someone's nice house. Room 304 was at the end of the hall. He stopped at the door. Through the small window, he could see her. Olivia Sterling. Alive, awake, sitting up in bed with an IV in her arm and color back in her cheeks. She was talking to a doctor, a white man in his 50s with gray hair and kind eyes. Dr. Hayes, the nurse had said. Darius raised his hand to knock, and that's when he heard Olivia's voice, clear and urgent, drifting through the door. I need to call my father. Now, it's about Mitchell. He's going to destroy everything. Darius's hand froze. Mitchell. That was the name she'd mumbled in the truck. He knocked. Both of them looked up. Olivia's eyes widened when she saw him. You, she breathed. You're the one who saved me. Darius stepped inside. Just checking to make sure you're okay. I'm alive because of you. Her voice cracked slightly. The nurse told me what happened. The bridge, the generator, everything. Dr. Hayes extended his hand. Dr. Robert Hayes, you did remarkable work tonight, Mr. Washington. Darius Washington. Well, Mr. Washington, you saved more than just Miss Sterling tonight. You saved 47 patients who would have died without power. Darius nodded. He didn't know what to say to that. Dr. Hayes glanced between them. I'll give you two a moment. He left, closing the door behind him. Silence filled the room. Olivia stared at Darius like she was trying to figure him out. Why? She asked. Finally. Why? What? Why did you stop? Why did you risk your life for a stranger? Darius was quiet for a moment. He thought about his father. About all the times people could have helped him and didn't. About Keisha waiting at home. About his mom sitting by the window. Because it was the right thing to do, he said simply. Olivia's eyes filled with tears. She blinked them back. Most people wouldn't have stopped. Yeah, well, I'm not most people. She laughed. A soft, surprised sound. Then her expression shifted, became serious, frightened. The bag, she said suddenly. The leather briefcase from my car. Did you? It's in my truck. I'll get it. No, wait. She grabbed his arm. Her grip was weak but desperate. I need to tell you something first. I need you to understand what's in that bag. Darius sat down in the chair beside her bed. Okay. And Olivia Sterling began to talk. Olivia's hands trembled as she gripped the bed sheets. My name is Olivia Sterling, CEO of Sterling Industries. CEO of Sterling Industries. Her voice was tight, urgent. The briefcase in your truck, it has evidence of embezzlement. $45 million. My vice president and 3 board members. Darius leaned forward. What? Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., they're voting me out. They've set me up to take the fall. Once I'm gone, they'll gut the company. 2,400 employees will lose everything. Her eyes were desperate. My father can stop them. He has the voting shares, but he's at our estate 35 miles from here. I can't reach him. No phone signal. Roads are buried. She tried to sit up, gasped in pain and fell back. I have to go. I have to get there before morning. You can barely move, Darius said. I don't care. Olivia swung her legs over the side of the bed. The IV pulled tight. Those people have families. They've done nothing wrong and they're going to lose everything because I couldn't. Her legs buckled. Darius caught her before she hit the floor. Easy, easy. Let me go. She pushed against him weakly. I have to. You're not going anywhere. Darius eased her back onto the bed. You can barely stand. Then I'll crawl. Her voice broke. Tears streamed down her face. 2,400 people. Darius. That's not just numbers. That's Jessica in accounting who just had twins. That's Marcus in shipping who's putting his daughter through college. That's she couldn't finish. Just sobbed into her hands. Darius stood there watching this woman, this CEO who probably had everything, completely fall apart, because she cared about her people more than herself. He knew that feeling. That helpless rage when you couldn't protect the people depending on you. Where's your father's estate? He asked quietly. Olivia looked up, eyes red. What? Your father? Where is he? Langford Manor. But the roads, how do I get there? You can't. It's 35 miles through Ravens Pass. That road will kill you in this storm. How do I get there? Olivia stared at him. Highway 40 north to Ravens Pass Road. Follow it east to the end. Big iron gates. Security. Guard named James Caldwell. He won't let you through. Then how do I prove you sent me? Olivia's hands went to her neck. She unfastened a delicate gold chain with a diamond pendant. This was my mother's. My father will recognize it. She held it out with shaking hands. But you can't, you don't even know me. Why would you? Because somebody has to. Darius took the necklace. And you can't. You'll die out there. Maybe. Or maybe 2,000 people keep their jobs. Darius, but he was already moving toward the door. Wait, Olivia called. Your truck. I saw it outside. It won't make it. Not after what you did to the generator. Darius stopped. She was right. He'd gutted half the electrical system. The truck might not even start now. The door opened. Dr. Hayes stepped in, followed by a younger nurse. Miss Sterling, we need to... He stopped when he saw Olivia's face. What's wrong? Dr. Hayes. Darius turned to him. I need a vehicle. Something that can handle mountain roads in a blizzard. Hayes frowned. What? Why? Because I need to get to Langford Manor in the next 7 hours or 2,000 people lose their jobs. That's impossible. The roads, I know about the roads. Hayes looked between Darius and Olivia. Understanding dawned on his face. This is about what's in that briefcase. Yes, Olivia said. Please, if there's any way. Hayes was quiet for a moment. Then he pulled keys from his pocket. I have a Jeep Wrangler, 4-wheel drive, winter tires. It's in the staff parking lot. Section B, spot 12. Darius stared at him. You're serious? You saved 47 lives tonight, Mr. Washington, including Miss Sterling's. If you say you can make this drive, I believe you. He pressed the keys into Darius's hand. Bring it back in one piece if you can. But if you can't, save those jobs. Thank you, Olivia whispered. Hayes nodded. Then he looked at Darius. You should leave now. Storm's only getting worse. You'll want to make the pass before sunrise. Visibility will be better. Darius pocketed the keys and the necklace, grabbed the briefcase from where he'd set it down. Mr. Washington. Hayes stopped him at the door. Ravens Pass has claimed 6 lives in the last 5 years. Please don't be number 7. I'll do my best. The elevator doors opened. Darius stepped inside, pressed the button for the ground floor. As the doors started to close, Thompson, the security guard from earlier, appeared. Washington, hold up. Darius put his hand out, stopping the doors. Thompson looked uncomfortable. What you said to Bradford, about how he looked at you. He paused. I did the same thing. When you first said you could fix the generator, I doubted you. Not because you didn't know what you were doing, but because I didn't look like I belonged. Darius finished. Yeah. Thompson's face was tight with shame. I was wrong. And I'm sorry. Darius studied him for a moment, then nodded once. Apology accepted. For what it's worth. Thompson pulled something from his pocket. A radio. Take this. It's got better range than a cell phone. Channel 7 reaches the state police. If you get in trouble out there, someone might hear you. Darius took the radio. Thanks, don't thank me. Just make it there alive. The elevator doors closed. Darius rode down in silence. His reflection stared back at him from the metal doors. He looked like hell, exhausted, beat up, but his eyes were clear. He knew what he was about to do, knew how dangerous it was, but he also knew what would happen if he didn't go. The doors opened. Darius walked through the lobby and out into the storm. The cold hit him like a fist. Snow swirled in the parking lot. He could barely see 10 feet ahead. Section B, Spot 12. He found the Jeep covered in snow, dark green, lifted suspension. It looked tough, reliable. Darius climbed in. The engine turned over immediately, strong, ready. He sat there for a moment, hands on the wheel, briefcase on the passenger seat. His phone buzzed. Finally a signal. Messages flooded in. Keisha, where are you? Keisha, Mom's really worried. Keisha, Darius, please answer. Mom. Baby, please call me Mom. I'm praying for you. His chest tightened. He should call, should tell them he was okay, but he didn't have time. Every minute counted now. He typed out a quick message. I'm safe. Something came up. We'll explain later. Tell Mom I love her. Love you too. He hit send. Then he turned off the phone. He couldn't afford distractions where he was going. Darius shifted the Jeep into gear, adjusted the mirrors, checked the gas. 3/4 full. Enough. He looked at the briefcase one more time. Thought about the 2,400 people whose lives depended on what was inside it. Then he pulled out of the parking lot and pointed the Jeep north, toward Highway 40, toward Ravens Pass, toward the storm that was trying to kill him. All right, he muttered. Let's do this. The Jeep's headlights cut through the darkness, and Darius Washington drove straight into hell. The Jeep's headlights barely cut through the wall of white ahead. Darius gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles already aching from the tension. Highway 40 stretched out before him, or at least he thought it did. The road had disappeared under 2 feet of fresh snow. He was navigating by instinct now, following the vague shape of what used to be pavement. 2:47 a.m. Less than 6 hours until that meeting. The heater blasted hot air, but Darius could still feel the cold seeping in around the edges. Outside, the temperature had dropped to somewhere below zero. The kind of cold that could kill you in minutes if you got stranded. Don't think about that. Just drive. The Jeep handled better than his truck. Smoother, more stable. But the storm didn't care what he was driving. Wind slammed into the side hard enough to push him toward the shoulder. Darius corrected, felt the tires searching for grip on ice hidden beneath powder. His mind kept going back to the hospital, to Olivia's desperate face, to those 2,400 people who had no idea what was happening. He thought about his father, about the day the factory closed, about watching grown men cry because they didn't know how they'd feed their families. That wasn't happening again. Not if he could help it. The road began to climb. Highway 40 was merging into the mountain pass now. The grade got steeper. Darius shifted into a lower gear, felt the Jeep's engine growl as it pulled them higher. Trees appeared on both sides, tall pines bent under the weight of snow. Their branches hung low over the road like skeletal fingers reaching down. Then the trees disappeared. Darius's stomach dropped. He knew what that meant. Ravens Pass. The road narrowed to barely 2 lanes. On the right side, the mountain rose up solid rock and ice. On the left side, nothing. Just a sheer drop into darkness. 300 feet down to the canyon floor. No guardrails. No margin for error. Jesus, Darius whispered. He slowed down to 20 miles per hour, then 15. The Jeep crawled forward, tires fighting for traction on ice. Don't look at the edge, eyes on the road, just the road, but it was impossible not to see it. That yawning emptiness just feet away. One wrong move, one patch of ice. That's all it would take. Darius's heart hammered against his ribs. Sweat rolled down his back despite the cold. His hands were locked so tight on the wheel his fingers had gone numb. The wind got worse up here, stronger, meaner. It came screaming across the open canyon, hitting the Jeep broadside with enough force to shove it sideways. Darius felt the rear end slip, sliding left, toward the edge. No. He turned into the skid, eased off the gas, let the weight redistribute. For 3 endless seconds the Jeep drifted. Darius could see the edge getting closer in his peripheral vision. Then the tires caught. The Jeep straightened out. Darius exhaled hard. His hands were shaking. "Come on," he muttered. "Stay focused." The radio on the dashboard crackled with static. Channel 7. The state police frequency. But there was nothing. Just white noise and the howl of the storm. He was alone up here. The road curved right. Darius took it slow, hugging the mountainside. Better to scrape against rock than go over the edge. A sign emerged from the snow. Dead Man's Curve 2 miles. Darius's chest tightened. He'd heard about Dead Man's Curve, a hairpin turn that dropped off on both sides. 3 people had died there 2 winters ago when their car went through the ice and over the edge. They didn't find the bodies until spring. 2 miles. He could do 2 miles. The Jeep climbed higher. The wind screamed louder. Snow came down so thick it looked like static on a TV screen. Then through the white chaos, Darius saw something move. Animals. Crossing the road, he slammed on the brakes. The Jeep skidded, fishtailing wildly. Darius fought the wheel, keeping it straight through sheer force of will. The Jeep stopped maybe 10 feet from a massive elk standing in the middle of the road. Darius's heart tried to punch out of his chest. He sat there breathing hard, staring at the animal. The elk stared back. Behind it more shapes moved through the snow. A whole herd, maybe 20 of them. They were migrating, moving down from the high peaks to lower ground where they could find food. Smart animals. They knew when to run from a storm. Unlike him, Darius waited. 30 seconds. A minute. 2 minutes. The elk took their time, moving across the road in single file. Mothers with calves, bulls with massive antlers, all of them completely ignoring the Jeep. Finally the last one disappeared into the trees on the right side. Darius shifted back into gear, and started moving again. His pulse was still racing. Focus. You're almost to the curve, then it's downhill to the estate. Dead Man's Curve appeared ahead. Even in the storm, he could see how sharp it was. A 90-degree turn to the left. The road dropped off on both sides. No mountain to scrape against, just air. Darius slowed to 10 miles per hour, then 5. He started into the turn. The Jeep's rear end began to slide immediately. Darius turned into it, but there was too much ice. The back end kept going, swinging wide, toward the edge. Time slowed down. Darius could hear his own heartbeat, could hear the wind, could hear the tires losing their grip on the road. He saw his life flash by, not his whole life, just the important parts. His father teaching him to fix an engine, his mother smiling at his graduation, Keisha asking him to help with her homework, Olivia's desperate face. 2,400 people. Not today, not like this. Darius yanked the emergency brake. The Jeep's back end locked up. The vehicle spun a full 180 rear end swinging around until the Jeep was facing backward, but it stopped spinning. 2 feet from the edge, Darius sat there frozen. He could see over the cliff now, out the windshield. Just darkness, falling forever. His hands were shaking so badly he couldn't move them. Holy shit, he breathed. Holy fucking shit. He sat there for a long moment, just breathing, just being alive. Then slowly, carefully, he shifted into reverse, backed away from the edge. When he had enough room, he turned the Jeep around until it was facing forward again. His whole body was trembling, adrenaline and fear mixing into something that made him want to throw up. But he didn't stop, didn't turn around. He pressed the gas and kept going. The road started to descend on the far side of the pass. Downhill now, easier, except downhill on ice meant fighting gravity, meant sliding, meant losing control even faster. Darius rode the brakes, gentle taps, keeping speed low. The Jeep crept down the mountain like an old man on stairs. His phone sat dark and silent in his pocket. No signal up here. No way to call for help if something went wrong. Not that anyone could reach him anyway. The bridge was gone. The pass was impassable. If he got stuck, he'd freeze to death before sunrise. Stop thinking like that. Focus on the road. 3 miles down from the summit, Darius saw something through the snow. A structure. Man-made. Echo Bridge. His stomach sank. He'd forgotten about Echo Bridge. An old wooden suspension bridge that crossed a narrow canyon. The thing had been scheduled for replacement 5 years ago. Never happened. Darius slowed as he approached. The bridge emerged from the snow like a skeleton. Wooden planks covered in ice. Cables hanging loose. A sign at the entrance. Danger weight limit 3 tons. The Jeep probably weighed 2 tons. Probably, but that sign was old. And this storm had been dumping snow and ice on the bridge for hours. How much weight could it handle now? Darius stopped at the entrance, looked at the bridge, looked at the canyon below. The drop was maybe 50 feet. Not as bad as Raven's Pass, but bad enough. He could turn around, find another way. Except there was no other way. Not anymore. The bridge behind him was gone. This was the only route to the estate. Darius looked at the clock. 3:42 a.m. 5 hours left. He looked at the briefcase on the passenger seat. 2,400 people. All right, he said to himself. To the Jeep. To God. To whoever was listening. All right, he shifted into the lowest gear. Eased the Jeep forward onto the bridge. The planks groaned immediately under the weight. Darius felt them shifting beneath the tires, heard wood creaking, metal cables singing in the wind. The bridge swayed, side to side, like being on a boat in rough water. Darius's heart was in his throat. He kept his speed steady, didn't brake, didn't accelerate, just let the Jeep roll forward at walking speed. Halfway across, the groaning got louder, more urgent. Darius heard something crack, sharp and loud like a gunshot. One of the support cables on the left side snapped. The bridge tilted sideways. The Jeep slid left. Shit, Darius corrected, but gently. Too much input, and he'd lose traction completely. The bridge kept tilting. More cables were snapping. The whole structure was coming apart. 20 feet to go. 15. Another cable gave way. The bridge dropped 6 inches. The Jeep bounced all 4 wheels, leaving the planks for a split second. Darius's vision narrowed to the far end of the bridge. To solid ground. To safety. 10 feet. 5. The entire center section of the bridge collapsed behind him. The Jeep's rear wheels dropped into empty air. Darius floored the gas. The engine roared. The front wheels spun, caught the last solid plank, and pulled. The Jeep lurched forward, rear end dragging, metal screaming against wood, and then the front tires hit dirt, solid ground. The Jeep pulled free just as the entire bridge collapsed into the canyon. Darius didn't stop. He kept driving until he was 50 feet away. Then he slammed on the brakes. He sat there gasping. His whole body was shaking. His vision was blurred. He realized he was crying. Jesus Christ, he sobbed. Jesus Christ. He looked in the rearview mirror. The bridge was gone. Just gone. Nothing but a gap and darkness. There was no going back now, even if he wanted to. The only way was forward. To the estate. To Richard Sterling. To the meeting that would decide 2,400 fates. Darius wiped his eyes, took a deep breath, put the Jeep back in gear. The road leveled out ahead. Trees closed in on both sides again. Civilization was getting closer. 5:23 a.m. 3.5 hours left. He could still make it. He had to make it. Darius pressed the gas and drove into the darkness. Behind him, the storm raged on. But ahead, somewhere in the distance, he could see the faintest hint of light. Dawn was coming. And with it his chance to save 2,400 lives, or die trying. The iron gates of Langford Manor appeared through the snow like something out of a different world. Darius slowed the Jeep, his exhausted eyes taking in the scene. The gates were massive, 12 feet tall, ornate scrollwork topped with spikes. On either side, stone walls stretched into the darkness. Behind them he could see lights. The estate. He'd made it. 5:47 a.m. 3 hours left. Darius pulled up to the guard booth. A figure moved inside, a man in a dark uniform stepping out into the cold. James Caldwell, had to be. The guard was maybe 45, built like he'd spent time in the military. Buzz cut, hard eyes. He approached the driver's side window, flashlight in hand. Darius rolled down the window. Cold air rushed in. Caldwell's flashlight beam hit Darius in the face, swept down over his grease-stained clothes, his cut hands, his exhausted face. The guard's expression didn't change, but Darius saw his hand move toward the radio on his belt. "Can I help you?" Caldwell's voice was flat, suspicious. "I need to see Richard Sterling. It's urgent. Mr. Sterling isn't expecting visitors." The flashlight beam moved to the briefcase on the passenger seat. "Especially not at 6 in the morning." "I know, but his daughter sent me." Caldwell's eyes narrowed. His daughter, Olivia Sterling. "She was in an accident tonight. I got her to the hospital. She gave me something to bring to her father." "Uh-huh." Caldwell didn't sound convinced. "And what would that be?" Darius reached into his pocket slowly, pulled out the diamond necklace, held it up, so the guard's flashlight caught it. "She said he'd recognize this." Caldwell stared at the necklace. Something flickered across his face, surprise maybe, but it was gone in an instant. "Where'd you get that?" "I told you. Olivia gave it to me." "Right." Caldwell's hand was definitely on his radio now. "And I'm supposed to believe that Miss Sterling just handed her mother's necklace to." He paused. His eyes swept over Darius again. "To someone like you." There it was. That look. The one Darius had seen 1,000 times. "Someone like me," Darius repeated slowly. "I didn't mean." "Yes you did." Darius's voice was tired. Not angry, just tired. "You meant exactly what you said. You look at me and you see someone who doesn't belong here. Someone who probably stole that necklace. Someone you should call the cops on right now." Caldwell's jaw tightened. "I'm just doing my job. Your job is to protect Mr. Sterling. I get that. But while you're standing here trying to figure out if I'm a threat, his company is getting destroyed. And 2,400 people are going to lose their jobs because you can't see past what I look like. That's not." "Call Olivia." Darius pulled out his phone. Dead. He'd forgotten he turned it off. "Shit. Okay, call the hospital. St. Catherine's, ask for ICU room 304. She'll tell you herself." Caldwell hesitated. His hand hovered over the radio. "Or better yet," Darius continued, "show that necklace to Mr. Sterling. Let him decide if I'm lying." For a long moment Caldwell just stared at him. The wind howled around them. Snow piled up on the Jeep's hood. Then a voice crackled over Caldwell's radio. "James, what's going on out there?" Caldwell lifted the radio. "We have a situation at the gate, Jeffrey. Possible intruder. Shall I alert Mr. Sterling?" "Negative. I'm handling it." Darius leaned back in his seat. His whole body ached, his head throbbed. He'd been awake for 24 hours. Driven through hell twice. Nearly died 4 times. And now he was being stopped by a gate guard who thought he was a criminal. "Listen," Darius said quietly. "I don't know what you see when you look at me, but I know what I see when I look at that briefcase. I see Jessica in accounting who just had twins. I see Marcus in shipping putting his daughter through college. I see 2,400 families who are about to lose everything." He met Caldwell's eyes. "I drove 35 miles through the worst storm in 20 years. I crossed a pass that's killed 6 people. I watched a bridge collapse right behind me. I did all that because someone had to, because those people deserve someone to fight for them." Darius held up the necklace again. "So you can believe me or not, you can open that gate or call the cops. But if you wait too long, if you waste too much time trying to decide if I'm worthy of your trust, those families are done. And that's on you." Caldwell stared at him. The radio crackled again. "James?" Caldwell didn't answer. He was still looking at Darius, at the necklace, at the briefcase. Then he made his decision. "Wait here." Caldwell turned and walked back to the guard booth. Darius watched him pick up a phone, have a conversation, hang up, pick up the phone again. Another conversation. 5 minutes passed, the longest 5 minutes of Darius's life. Then Caldwell came back. His expression was different now, harder to read. Jeffrey's coming down. Who's Jeffrey? Head of household staff. He'll escort you to Mr. Sterling. Caldwell paused. If he believes you, and if he doesn't, then I call the sheriff. Great. Another gatekeeper. A minute later, headlights appeared on the driveway behind the gates. A black Mercedes sedan pulled up. A man got out, white 60s, wearing an expensive suit despite the hour. Everything about him screamed old money and older traditions. Jeffrey. The man walked to the gate with the kind of posture that suggested he'd never hurried for anything in his life. He looked at Darius through the bars, looked at the Jeep, looked at Caldwell. This is the man. Yes, sir, Caldwell said. Jeffrey's eyes swept over Darius with the kind of disdain usually reserved for something you'd scrape off your shoe. And he claims Miss Olivia sent him. He has her mother's necklace. May I see it? Darius held it up. Jeffrey's eyes widened slightly, the first real emotion Darius had seen from him. Where did you get that? Jeffrey's voice was sharp now. Your boss's daughter gave it to me. About 2 hours ago, at St. Catherine's Hospital, where I took her after pulling her out of a car wreck. Jeffrey was quiet for a moment. Then he pulled out a phone and dialed. Put it on speaker. It rang 4 times. Then a woman's voice answered, groggy, weak. Hello, Miss Olivia, this is Jeffrey. I apologize for the early call, but there's a man at the gate claiming you sent him. He has your mother's necklace. Silence. Then Darius, is Darius there? Jeffrey looked surprised. He gestured for Darius to come closer to the phone. I'm here, Darius said. Oh, thank God. Olivia's voice was filled with relief. Jeffrey let him through immediately. He has documents for my father. It's urgent. Life and death urgent. Miss Olivia, with all due respect, we don't know this man. He saved my life. Olivia's voice was stronger now, fierce. He drove through a blizzard to help people he doesn't even know. Now open the damn gate and take him to my father. That's an order, Jeffrey. Jeffrey's face went through several shades of red. His mouth opened, closed. He wasn't used to being spoken to like that. As you wish, Miss Olivia. His tone was ice. The call ended. Jeffrey looked at Caldwell, nodded once. Caldwell pressed a button. The gates began to swing open. Follow me, Jeffrey said curtly. He walked back to his Mercedes without another word. Darius shifted the Jeep into gear and drove through the gates, up the long driveway lined with trees. The estate sprawled out before him. Massive stone mansion, 3 stories, lit up like a palace. This was a different world. One he'd never been part of, never would be part of. But tonight he was driving right into the heart of it. Jeffrey's Mercedes stopped in front of the main entrance. Darius pulled up behind him. The moment he stepped out of the Jeep he felt it. The weight of being somewhere he didn't belong. The mansion loomed above him, all stone and glass and money. His boots left dirty prints on the pristine circular driveway. Jeffrey was waiting by the front doors. A woman in a housekeeper's uniform had opened them. She looked at Darius with barely concealed shock. This way, Jeffrey said. He didn't wait to see if Darius followed. Inside was even worse. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, art on the walls that probably cost more than Darius would make in his lifetime. Everything was white and gold and perfect. And Darius was tracking snow and mud across it all. Please remove your boots, Jeffrey said without looking back. Darius stopped, looked down at his feet. His boots were caked in dirt and snow and God knows what else. I don't have time. This is Mr. Sterling's home. Jeffrey turned, his voice cold. You will respect it, or you will leave. Darius's jaw clenched. Every instinct screamed at him to tell Jeffrey where to shove his rules. But he needed to see Richard Sterling. Needed to deliver that briefcase. He unlaced his boots, pulled them off. His socks had holes in them. Of course they did. Jeffrey's eyes flicked down, saw the holes. His expression didn't change, but Darius saw the judgment anyway. Follow me, Jeffrey said again. They walked through hallways that seemed to go on forever, past rooms filled with furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum, past windows that showed manicured gardens buried under snow. Darius clutched the briefcase tighter. He was leaving wet footprints on the polished floor. They stopped at a set of double doors. Dark wood, heavy, imposing. Jeffrey knocked. Mr. Sterling, there's someone here to see you. He says it's urgent. A voice from inside. Deep, authoritative. Who is it? Jeffrey hesitated. A gentleman claiming Miss Olivia sent him. Send him in. Jeffrey opened the doors, gestured for Darius to enter. The office was huge. Bookshelves lined 3 walls. A fireplace crackled on the 4th. And behind a massive oak desk sat a man in his 60s, silver hair, sharp eyes, expensive suit even at 6 in the morning. Richard Sterling. He looked up as Darius entered. His eyes took in everything. The wet clothes, the cuts on Darius's hands, the exhaustion on his face. You're the one who saved my daughter. It wasn't a question. Yes, sir. Jeffrey says you have something for me. Darius stepped forward, set the briefcase on the desk. Olivia said you'd need this. Evidence about Mitchell Hawthorne, about what he's been doing to your company. Richard stared at the briefcase, then at Darius. How did you get here? The roads are impassable. I drove. Through Raven's Pass, in this storm. Yes, sir. That's suicide. Maybe. But your daughter said 2,400 people were depending on this. So I drove. Richard stood up slowly, walked around the desk. He was tall, taller than Darius expected. His eyes were sharp, assessing. Do you know what's in this briefcase? Evidence of embezzlement, proof that your vice president and some board members are trying to destroy your company, and you risked your life to deliver it. Why? Darius met his eyes. Because somebody had to. Richard studied him for a long moment, then he held out his hand. Darius looked at it, at this rich white man's hand, clean, manicured, the hand of someone who'd never worked a day of manual labor in his life. He thought about his father's hands, scarred and calloused, strong. He shook Richard Sterling's hand. The 2 men's grips were firm, equal. Thank you, Mr. Washington. Darius Washington. Thank you, Mr. Washington. Richard's voice was sincere. For saving my daughter, and for this. He opened the briefcase. Richard Sterling's hands moved through the documents slowly, methodically. His face was unreadable at first, the practiced expression of a man who'd spent decades in boardrooms. But as he read deeper, something changed. His jaw tightened, his eyes hardened, a muscle twitched in his cheek. My God, he whispered. Then louder, my God. Darius stood silent, watching. Exhaustion pulled at him like gravity. His legs wanted to give out, his eyes burned, but he stayed standing. Richard flipped through page after page. Bank statements showing wire transfers, emails between Mitchell and the board members, contracts for fake suppliers, shell companies in the Cayman Islands, $45 million, gone, stolen, over 2 years. Mitchell. Richard's voice was barely controlled rage. That son of a bitch. I trusted him for 20 years. I was at his daughter's wedding. He was at my wife's funeral. He looked up at Darius. His eyes were wet. How long has Olivia known? She said 3 months. She's been gathering evidence, trying to build a case, and they were going to vote her out this morning. Richard checked his watch. 6:18 a.m. In less than 3 hours. Yes, sir. Richard pulled out his phone, started dialing, put it on speaker. Peter, it's Richard Sterling. I don't care what time it is. I need you to conference call with the board. Yes, now. Emergency meeting. I'm invoking my rights as majority shareholder. His voice was ice. Get them on the line in 10 minutes or I'll have your law license pulled. He hung up, looked at Darius. You drove through hell to bring me this. Your daughter asked me to, but you didn't know her, didn't owe her anything. No, sir. Then why risk it? Why nearly kill yourself for strangers? Darius was quiet for a moment. He thought about how to answer, about what this man needed to hear. My father was a mechanic, he said finally. Worked in a factory, fixed the machines that made auto parts. He was good at it, one of the best. But when I was 15 the factory closed. Some executives decided they could make more money moving production overseas. Didn't matter that 200 families depended on those jobs. Didn't matter that my dad gave them 20 years of his life. Richard listened, silent. 6 months later, my dad took a job at a small garage. Bad equipment, no safety regulations. He was under a hydraulic lift when it failed. Crushed him. Darius's voice was steady, but his hands clenched. He died doing the only thing he knew how to do, because people with power decided that money mattered more than people. I'm sorry, Richard said quietly. I'm not telling you this for sympathy. I'm telling you because I know what happens when companies get destroyed from the inside. I've seen it, lived it. Those 2,400 people. They're not just numbers on a spreadsheet. their families, kids, futures. Darius met Richard's eyes. So when your daughter asked me to drive through a storm to save them, I didn't think twice. Richard stared at him. Then slowly he nodded. Your father would be proud of the man you became. Darius's throat tightened. He couldn't speak. The phone on Richard's desk rang. He picked it up. Yes. Good. Patch them through. A moment later, voices filled the office. Tinny, coming through the speakerphone. Richard, what's this about? A man's voice, irritated. Mitchell. Richard's tone was pleasant. Dangerously pleasant. Good morning. Thanks for joining us so early. You said it was an emergency. Another voice. Woman. This better be good, Richard. Some of us were sleeping. Oh, it's good, Margaret. Trust me. Richard looked at Darius, gestured to a chair. Please, sit. You've earned it. Darius shook his head. If he sat down, he might not get back up. Who else is on the line? Richard asked. Thomas here. Gerald. Mitchell. All 4 board members, plus Richard. Excellent. Richard picked up the first document from the briefcase. I wanted to discuss the emergency meeting scheduled for 9 a.m. The one where you plan to vote out my daughter and press criminal charges against her. Silence. Then Mitchell spoke. Richard, if Olivia told you, shut up, Mitchell. Richard's voice was a whip crack. You'll speak when I tell you to speak. More silence. I have in front of me evidence of embezzlement. Wire transfers totaling $45 million from Sterling Industries accounts to offshore shell companies. Companies that you 4 own. That's absurd. Margaret started. I have emails, Margaret, between you and Mitchell, discussing how to frame Olivia, how to make it look like she was the one stealing. Richard's voice got colder. I have contracts with fake suppliers, invoices for equipment that was never delivered. I have everything. Where did you get? Thomas's voice was panicked now. From my daughter, who's been investigating you for 3 months, who risked her life in a blizzard trying to bring me this evidence, who almost died because you people were too greedy to be satisfied with your already obscene salaries. Darius watched Richard transform. This wasn't just a father protecting his daughter. This was a man who'd built an empire and watched it get betrayed from within. Here's what's going to happen. Richard continued. At 9 a.m., there will be a board meeting, but it won't be the one you planned. It'll be the one where I vote, using my 40% share plus Olivia's 20% to remove all 4 of you from the board immediately. You'll be escorted from the building by security, your access revoked, your assets frozen pending criminal investigation. You can't. Mitchell started. I can. And I will. I've already called Peter Brennan. Our lawyers are drawing up the paperwork as we speak. By 10 a.m. you'll be unemployed. By noon you'll be arrested. Richard, please. Gerald's voice cracked. We can work something out. We can. Work something out. Richard's laugh was bitter. You stole from me. You tried to destroy my daughter. You were going to put 2,400 people out of work just to cover your tracks. And you think we can work something out? No one answered. The FBI will be at your homes by 8 a.m. I suggest you call lawyers. Good ones. You're going to need them. Richard hung up without waiting for a response. The office fell silent. The only sound was the crackle of the fireplace. Richard sat down heavily in his chair. Suddenly he looked every one of his 65 years. They were going to destroy it, he said quietly. Everything I built, everything my father built before me. 40 years of work, gone. For money they didn't even need. But they didn't, Darius said. Because your daughter fought back, and because you listened. Richard looked up at him. Because you drove through hell to give me the chance to listen. He stood, walked to a cabinet on the wall, opened it, pulled out a checkbook. Darius's stomach sank. He knew what was coming. Richard wrote quickly, tore off the check, walked over and held it out. Darius didn't take it, didn't even look at it. $500,000, Richard said. It's not enough. It could never be enough for what you did. But it's a start. I don't want your money. Richard blinked. I'm sorry. I said I don't want your money, Mr. Sterling. Mr. Washington, you saved my daughter's life. You saved my company. You saved 2,000 jobs. This is the least. I didn't do it for money. Darius looked at the check, at the number, more money than he'd make in 10 years, maybe 15. Enough to pay off every debt, to get his mother the best doctors, to send Keisha to any college she wanted. But it was a handout. Charity. A way for Richard Sterling to feel like the debt was paid. Then what do you want? Richard asked. Darius was quiet for a long moment. He thought about his father, about the factory that closed, about all the young men in Pinewood with nowhere to go, nothing to do, no future. I want to build something, he said slowly. A training center, in Pinewood, where kids can learn real skills, automotive repair, welding, electrical, HVAC, the kind of skills that lead to real jobs, real futures. He met Richard's eyes. I grew up with nothing, Mr. Sterling. I know what that's like. I know what it does to you, watching everyone around you struggle, watching people give up. I don't want that for the next generation. I don't want them to end up like my father, dead at 40 because no one gave them better options. Richard stared at him, the check still in his hand. You're refusing $500,000 in cash so you can help strangers. I'm refusing charity so I can build something that lasts. A smile slowly spread across Richard's face. You're serious, dead serious. Richard looked at the check, then he tore it up. Let the pieces fall into the wastebasket. You're right, that was an insult. You're not a man who wants a handout. You're a man who wants to build. He walked back to his desk, opened a different drawer, pulled out a business card and a pen. Here's what I'm going to do. Sterling Industries will fund your training center, not as charity, as an investment. We'll provide equipment, facility funding, operational costs. In return we get first crack at hiring your graduates. Deal. Darius's breath caught. You're serious. You drove 35 miles through a killer storm to save people you'd never met. That tells me everything I need to know about your character. Richard held out the card. I invest in people, Mr. Washington, and you're the best investment I've seen in 20 years. Darius took the card. His hand was shaking. There's one condition, Richard added. What's that? You run it. You're the director. You build the curriculum. You hire the staff. This is your vision. I'm just funding it. Darius couldn't speak. His throat was too tight. His eyes were burning. This wasn't real. Couldn't be real. I don't know what to say. Say yes. Yes. The word came out as barely a whisper. Yes. Richard extended his hand again. This time when they shook, it felt different. Not like a transaction. Like a partnership. Like respect. A knock at the door. Jeffrey entered. Mr. Sterling, your lawyers are here, and Miss Olivia is on the phone again. She's quite insistent about speaking with you. Put her through. Jeffrey pressed a button. Olivia's voice filled the room. Dad, is he there? Did Darius make it? He's here, sweetheart. And he brought me everything. Oh, thank God. Her voice cracked. Relief and exhaustion. The board, taken care of. Mitchell and the others will be arrested by noon. The company is safe. Your job is safe. And so are your 2,400 employees. Olivia sobbed. Thank you, Daddy. Don't thank me. Thank Mr. Washington. He's the hero here. Darius. Olivia called out. Are you listening? I'm here. I don't know how to thank you. You saved my life. You saved everything. I owe you. You don't owe me anything. Darius interrupted. Just take care of your people. That's all the thanks I need. Silence. Then Olivia laughed, a sound of pure relief. You're one hell of a man, Darius Washington. Get some rest, Miss Sterling. Richard ended the call. He looked at Darius with something close to awe. How long have you been awake? 26 hours, maybe more. Jeffrey, prepare the East guest room. Mr. Washington needs rest before he drives back. I need to get Dr. Hayes his Jeep back. Tomorrow. Richard's tone left no room for argument. You've done enough for one night. Sleep, eat, then we'll talk details about your training center. Darius wanted to argue, but his body was done. His legs were shaking. His vision was blurring. Okay, he said quietly. Jeffrey led him out of the office, down another hallway, to a room that was bigger than Darius's entire apartment. There are fresh clothes in the closet, Jeffrey said stiffly. Bathroom is through that door. Ring if you need anything. He started to leave, then stopped, turned back. Mr. Washington. Jeffrey's voice was different now, softer. I apologize for my earlier behavior. I judged you unfairly. That was wrong of me. Darius looked at him. At this man who treated him like dirt an hour ago. You weren't the first, Darius said. Won't be the last, perhaps. Jeffrey nodded. But you handled it with more grace than I deserved. Thank you for that. He left. The door closed quietly. Darius stood in the center of the room, alone, finally alone. His legs gave out. He sat on the edge of the bed, softer than anything he'd ever felt, and put his face in his hands. He'd done it, against all odds, against a storm and a mountain, and his own exhaustion. He'd delivered that briefcase, saved those jobs, and somehow in the process, he'd gotten a chance to build something bigger than himself. His phone buzzed. He turned it back on without thinking. Messages flooded in. Mom, baby, where are you? I'm so worried. Keisha, Darius, answer your phone, Keisha. I'm about to call the police, Mom. Please just let me know you're alive. With shaking hands, Darius typed. I'm okay. I'm safe. Long story. We'll tell you everything when I get home. I love you both so much. He hit send, then he lay back on the bed. Just for a minute, just to rest his eyes. He was asleep before his head hit the pillow. Outside, the storm finally broke. The sun rose over the mountains. And somewhere in Pinewood, Colorado, 2,400 people woke up not knowing that their jobs, their futures had been saved by a mechanic who refused to look away when someone needed help. 1 year later, the autumn sun broke through the morning clouds over Pinewood, Colorado. The air was crisp and clean, the kind of morning that made you believe anything was possible. Darius Washington stood in front of a building that hadn't existed a year ago. The Washington Technical Training Center, 2 stories, red brick, brand new. The sign gleamed in the sunlight, where skills build futures. Behind him, footsteps crunched on gravel. He turned. His mother walked toward him slowly, using her cane, but she was walking. The new medication was working. Her diabetes was under control. Look at you, she said, her voice trembling with pride. My baby boy, your daddy would be so proud. Darius' throat tightened as he pulled her into a hug. A car pulled into the lot. Olivia Sterling stepped out smiling. Richard followed in his Mercedes. It's beautiful, Olivia said, taking in the building. Even better than I imagined. 200 students in the first class, Darius said. We had over 400 applications. Then we'll build a second facility, Richard said. We're expanding to Denver, Phoenix, and Seattle. I want Washington training centers in all 3 cities. Darius blinked. You're serious? Completely. You've proven the model works. Now let's scale it. They walked inside, past classrooms filled with new equipment, past a library lined with technical manuals and computers, into the main workshop. It was massive, high ceilings, bright skylights, the sound of drills and welding sparks humming like music. Dozens of students worked in coveralls, focused and determined. One of them looked up, Carlos Rodriguez, 19, grease on his arms and pride in his grin. Mr. Washington, I finished the transmission rebuild. 3 days, but it's perfect. Darius crouched beside him, inspected the bolts, checked the gear alignment. Good job, Carlos. You ready for the certification exam? I think so, you know so. You've got this. Carlos beamed, that spark in his eyes. That was why Darius built this place. At a nearby desk, his sister Keisha worked on a laptop. 20 years old now, studying business at Colorado State. Hey big brother, she said, smiling. I'm building a recruitment database, tracking applications from high schools across the state. Darius hugged her. You're doing amazing work, Keisha. I learned from the best. 2 hours later, the ribbon-cutting ceremony drew hundreds of students and their families, local business owners, the mayor, news crews, and cameras. Darius stepped up to the podium, nervous but steady. A year ago I was just a mechanic, working 14-hour days, barely making ends meet. He paused, letting the silence settle. Then one night, in the middle of the worst storm I'd ever seen, I found someone who needed help. I could have kept driving, but I stopped. The crowd was still, listening. This building exists because people helped me. Dr. Hayes gave me his vehicle. Richard Sterling believed in me. Olivia Sterling trusted me with something that could save or destroy 2,000 lives. His voice grew stronger. Now it's my turn to help others. He gestured to the students behind him. These young people deserve a chance. They deserve real skills that lead to real jobs. They deserve futures that aren't limited by where they came from or what they look like. His voice broke. My father died because when his factory closed, no one gave him options. I can't bring him back, but I can make sure the next generation doesn't fall through the cracks. Applause roared. His mother stepped forward with oversized scissors. "Baby, you do the honors." "No mama, we do it together." He took one handle, she took the other. Keisha placed her hands over theirs. 1, 2, 3, they cut. The ribbon fell. The Washington Technical Training Center was officially open. 6 months later, Carlos Rodriguez burst into Darius's office, holding an envelope. "I can't open it. The certification results. Will you?" Darius tore it open, scanned the page and smiled. "Perfect score. You're certified." Carlos froze, then erupted. "I passed. Perfect score. Oh my God." Carlos hugged him tight. "A year ago I had nothing. Now I've got a certification, a job at Sterling Industries, a future." His voice broke. "You changed my life, Mr. Washington." Darius shook his head. "No, Carlos, you changed your own life. I just opened the door." His phone buzzed, a text from Olivia. "Turn on Channel 9. On the TV, a news anchor announced, "Washington Technical Training Center has achieved a 94% job placement rate in just 6 months. Forbes magazine calls it the future of vocational education." The screen showed clips of students working, welding, laughing, and then Darius himself. "What do you want people to know?" the interviewer asked. "That you don't need to be special to make a difference," Darius said. "You just need to care. You need to see someone who needs help and decide to be the person who helps them." "But you risked your life in a blizzard to save 2,000 jobs, the interviewer pressed. "That's exactly what caring looks like," Darius said simply. "It's not convenient, it's not safe, but it's necessary. And if we all did a little more of what's necessary instead of what's convenient, the world would be a better place." He turned off the TV, the quiet filling the room. Richard called. "That interview has 2 million views. The board approved the expansion. Denver breaks ground in 6 months." After the call, Darius looked out the window. Students were leaving for the day, laughing, carrying toolboxes, walking toward brighter futures. A year and a half ago, he'd been ready to give up. Then he'd made one choice, one decision to stop and help. And that single choice had rippled outward, touching thousands of lives. He pulled out his wallet. Inside was a photo of his father smiling, grease on his hands. "We did it, Dad," Darius whispered. His phone buzzed again. His mother: "Dinner at 6. Don't be late." He smiled, grabbed his jacket, and looked once more at the framed photo on the wall. "See you tomorrow, Dad." He stepped into the evening air. The sunset painted the sky orange and gold. Somewhere, Carlos was calling his mother with good news. Somewhere, a young woman was filling out an application. Somewhere, a family was sitting around the dinner table, talking about futures that suddenly seemed possible. And Darius Washington drove home, to his mother, to his sister, to his life. A life built on one simple truth: when someone needs help, you stop. You don't think about the cost. You don't worry about rewards. You just stop, and you help. Because that's what decent people do. That's what heroes do. Even if they're just mechanics from Pinewood, Colorado, who happened to be on the right road, at the right time, and made the choice to give a damn. 6 years later, the Washington Technical Training Network operated 15 facilities across 12 states, over 8,000 graduates, 96% job placement rate. Darius Washington was featured in Time magazine's 100 Most Influential People. He declined the ceremony, too busy teaching a welding class. When asked about his success, he always said the same thing: "I'm not special. I just stopped when someone needed help. Anyone could do what I did. I hope they will." And slowly some of them started to.
Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.